Come to this particular session. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Professor Maruthi sir. Professor Maruthi sir is the professor in the Department of Studies in Law, University of Mysore. He has put in nearly 20 years of teaching experience. Sir has guided 18 candidates. Dear teacher participants, please mute yourselves and put on your video. Sir has successfully guided 18 candidates for PhD, and still 9 candidates are working under his guidance. Sir has published more than 90 articles in national and international journals and refereed journals, especially reviewed and refereed journals. He has delivered more than 250 lectures. Sir has also served in different capacities as the chairman of the Board of Studies, chairman of the Board of Examination, and he has got good connection with other universities. He is an inter-university professor, in fact. Currently, Professor Maruthi sir is Dean Faculty of Law, and he has completed good projects also. And he is a very popular teacher, not only in the university, but also outside. Such a resource person is with us today, and he is specialized in various branches of law like air law, space law, international conventions on the seabed, and he is specialized in refugee law and migration law also. He has migrated to this particular online lecture today on my request. Sir is going to discuss with you or going to enlighten you about 2 relevant topics which are very much important for the purpose of consolidating the identity, democracy, and development and idea of India. The first lecture is food security, poverty alleviation, food security for incredible India. This is the first lecture. It is also very much related to our topic because food security is closely concerned with the national security and the nutritional security. Poverty alleviation is indispensably necessary to achieve economic development. The credibility of India largely depends upon these 2 factors. In the next session from 3:45 to 5 o'clock, sir is going to discuss with you on the most important topic, that is internal displacement, a challenge to inclusive democracy. So I hope all the teacher participants will definitely benefit from these 2 lectures of our resource person, Professor Maruthi sir. He is an asset not only to law, but also to the political science and other sub branches of the social sciences. I heartily welcome you, sir, to this particular session and also to the next session. And after a few minutes, I take leave of you with your permission. I also welcome all the teacher participants and also the technical assistant to this session. Thank you, sir. You can continue your lecture.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
hearing
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Audible.
Yes,
Sir, good afternoon. First of all, let me congratulate you for having gone through one of the best topics, especially in connection to the political science issues are concerned. In a silver linings, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Director of HRDC, coordinator of this online refresher course, Professor Krishna Hambalji, respective participants, academicians among the audience, ladies and gentlemen. The topic in which I have chosen for presenting my views is on poverty elevation and food security for incredible India. Of course, much has been discussed on food security, poverty elevation, incredible India, and many more. I think it requires a lot of drill to understand poverty elevation and food security. It is very crucial subject, if rather I would say, to communicate everything through law. It requires lots of efforts based on the constitutional law and rest of them. Perhaps you may have gone through being a student of political science. Political science and law, they should go hand in hand. That's one and the same. If rather I would say, they look as if two bodies of the one soul, two faces of the same coin. And moreover, as we have already been known, law and political science, they look as if honeymoon subjects. So therefore, understanding poverty elevation, food security for incredible India, it is highly essential because everybody wants to have a food. Everybody wants to have some action plan to elevate poverty all over the world. What is poverty? It's very difficult to define it. However, many scholars have defined what is poverty and how exactly food security shall also be looked into. And we know everything. Country like India, India is known for its silicon, make in, and above all, incredible. We are praising ourselves, no matter. But when it comes to the knowledge of the vulnerable sections of the society, especially in India, though we have had many policies, schemes, and some action plans, the poverty is actually ongoing. World hunger is ongoing. Look at the Sustainable Developmental Goals 2015 to 30. We have had our own action plan at the international level. How exactly that action plan can be implemented at the local level, it's a question of fact and law as well. We have to understand on the basis of world hunger and elimination of the poverty at the national and international level as such. It requires a lot of drill, no matter. Look at the action plans expressed by United Nations Organization. When you just look into the preamble of UN Charter 1945, it's very clear. It starts with we the people of United Nations determined to save the succeeding generation from the scourge of war, and which is untold sorrow, and it requires lots of inputs from the states with a view to encourage and uphold the values of the humanity. This is very, very important from the point of view of understanding poverty elevation as such. If you just look into some places, even in Karnataka, visit some places like Nagravale, Bandipur, Bihar Hills, even today, people are highly marginalized and weaker. So therefore, how exactly the poverty can be elevated and food security can be looked into. This is very, very important. Now, with these few aspects, of course, there are some issues that you should overcome. I'll give you an example. It might be an illustration as well. The wolf is actually standing before the sheep demanding, I have a right to food, I want to kill you. Then sheep replied politely, my friend wolf, however you might have got right to food, but I have a right to life, you cannot kill me. This is one of the classical examples I'm just giving you. How in what manner food security can be looked into. No matter, you know very well better than me. Perhaps you may have gone through human rights discourses in a better way. If you just look into UDHR, ICCPR, then International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights 1966, and Action Plan, Beijing Action Plan, all in all, perhaps you may have gone through. No matter. Look at, especially in India, we have already been crossed more than 75 years of our own experience. We have got our own constitution. So many legislations have come through, including food security laws. At the international level, conventions have come through. Though we have had national, regional, and international laws, the problems are ongoing. Of course, no doubt, who bells the cat? It might be your sweeping statement. You have to bell the cat, catch the cat, and find out where exactly it's moving. This is very, very important from the point of view of understanding the poverty elevation as such. Therefore, though we have had some specific protections as guaranteed under the part 3rd and part 4th of the Constitution of India, as you have already been come across, might be fundamental rights, direct principles of state policies, all in all we have. And in a silver linings, the Supreme Court of India has come out with some action plan with a view to understand Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Right to life includes right to livelihood. Look at the standardization. That the standardization is well known under Article 55 and 56 of UN Charter 1945. That has come through by establishing a Food and Agriculture Organization at the international level as such. Then what is the role of international organizations? This is very, very important from the point of view of understanding the poverty elevation as such. Look at the action plans. In 1986, in fact, Declaration on Right to Development came in. Why Right to Development came in? That the Declaration of Right to Development came in with a view to overcome the classical problems among the nations, especially in the developing countries and the least developed countries. And there is no exception even for India as such. These are the perceptions that shall also be looked into. Especially in 1960 and 1970, there was an awareness among these developing countries. Developing countries started questioning developed countries. We know very well. It was because of colonialism and the neo-colonial observations, the people started questioning the developed countries. These are the perceptions, no matter. And we had many slogans, especially in 1960 and 1970 as such. 1960 and 1970 era, it was an era of an awareness among the developing countries. It has come through. However, when you have established a WTO, that the World Trade Organization, everything was in fact snubbed and cornered to the society as such. You know that the LPG system, liberalization, privatization, globalization, or internationalization. have created a lot of issues at the higher level as such. Therefore, there are so many conflicts. Whether egg is first, hen is first, seed is first, plant is first, military necessities first, humanity is first, men are first, women are first. All these queries are actually remained even today. Something has to be looked upon, but you cannot keep the similar problems for a long time. And you are a like-minded, decide what is to be done. You are a judge, judge what is right and what is wrong. No matter what is right for me may not be right for you. What is good for me may not be good for you. But there is a room for discussing all these issues, especially for poverty elevation and food security for incredible India as such. So therefore, we have to give voice to the voiceless, eyes to the eyesless, remedy to the remediless, speechless. All this, they may be highly philosophical, if rather I would say, still they are relevant from the standpoint to understand the people who are living at the lowest strata. With a view to eliminate poverty, action plans shall also be looked into. Yes, we have had as many as action plans to overcome poverty, especially a country like India. If you just look into Northeast, Chhattisgarh, even in Karnataka, as I have already been referred into some issues. Look at, especially in a Biligari, BR Hills, Soligas, especially in Bandipur, Nagaravale, Ankola, and Joida as well. You find a lot of issues and challenging and problems. How do you overcome them? Even today, though we have had very good constitution and the policies as well, the problems in these areas are highly vulnerable. Then what kind of action plans do you have? No rehabilitation has been made so far. Repatriation has been made, but no rehabilitation has been made so far. These people are concerned. They are highly marginalized, weaker, and retracted. So therefore, we have to have some action plan. And you know very well, if X happens, then Y ought to happen. If X commits a crime, he should be prosecuted. I agree with you. I fully agree with you. I have no other way to agree with you. But something has to be looked upon to understand these. And you know that if somebody is actually crying at home, that the mother should know why he is crying. It means if somebody is actually starved, died, it's because of a lack of food security, that the government should know why he is actually literally crying on the road. And who's this responsibility? And this is one of the responsibilities on the part of a state to look after each one of them. Especially in Leviathan, Hobbes has identified many things. What is the duty of a king? Duty of a king is to protect citizen. This is in fact well known.
Excuse me, sir.
Kautilya's in Kautilya's Arthashastra as well.
Hello, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Please tell me.
PPT is not forwarding.
Yeah. Is it okay?
Okay, sir.
Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Now it's moving.
Yeah. All right. And you can put a fundamental question here. when you are just sharing few thoughts on poverty elevation and food security, $1 million questions you have. Sometimes you cannot expect answer also. Though we have had queries, answer cannot be expected. So these are the problems we have. And on the other hand, first of all, we have to understand what is Constitution. Without understanding Constitution and the specific issues, the problems in connection to the poverty elevation is actually remain. Then what is Constitution? How exactly Constitution can be looked into? And Constitution is not at all a drama or a story or a novel as such. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕತೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಕಾದಂಬರಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ನಾಟಕ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಯಾವತ್ತೋ ಹೊರಟೋಗ್ಬಿಡೋದು. ಈಗ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ $1.90 ಯಾರು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಪರ್ ಡೇ ಅರ್ನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೋ ಅವರು ಬಡತನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಬಡತನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ಫುಡ್ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿಗೂ ಇದಕ್ಕೂ ಏನು ಲಿಂಕ್ ನಾವು ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಈ ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ ನಾವು ಕಾನೂನನ್ನ ಹೇಳೋದಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? ಆ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕಾಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರಗಳು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಮುಖ್ಯ. ಅದು ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ಬಂದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅನ್ನಭಾಗ್ಯ ಯೋಜನೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಕ್ಷೀರ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ಯೋಜನೆ ಇತ್ಯಾದಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಯೋಜನೆಗಳು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಏನು ಈ ಬಿಲೋ ಪಾವರ್ಟಿ ಲೈನ್ ಏನು ಯಾರ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ ಈ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ವೆರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಫುಡ್ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್. Food security in the sense that we have to understand food availability, food access and utilization. Especially in India, one third food is actually wasting every day. This is what Food and Agriculture Organization has already been given a report to the government. 1/3 food is actually being wasted country like India. Especially in some places where you celebrate as many as functions, there food is going to be wasted. So therefore, you have to utilize the food accordingly. This is very, very important from the point of view of understanding what is the food security as such. On the other hand, we can ask one more fundamental question. Why food security is important for a nation? As you have already been known, India is known for its incredible. ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ನಾವೇನೋ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರನ್ನ ಹೋಲ್ಕ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಸಮಾನರಲ್ಲ, ನಾವು ಬಹಳ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಉತ್ತಮದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಹೊಗಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬರ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಈ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲೈಸ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ಫುಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಫುಡ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ಹಾಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಷಿಯಸ್ ಫುಡ್. ಈಗ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಯುನಿಸೆಫ್ನವರು, ಯುನೆಸ್ಕೋರು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಫೈಂಡಿಂಗ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪ್ರತಿ ದಿವಸ 5,000 ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಮಾಲ್ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಷನ್ ಇರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನ ಗರ್ಭಿಣಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳು, ಹೆಂಗಸರು ಇವತ್ತು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಷಿಯಸ್ ಫುಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ತಿನ್ನಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಹೇಳೋದು ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಸಿಂಪಲ್. ಇನ್ಕ್ರೆಡಿಬಲ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಸಿಲಿಕಾನ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಮೇಕ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಲೋಗನ್ಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಪ್, ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಪ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಯಾವ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ಸ್ ಏನ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಫುಡ್ಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ. ಯುನಿಸೆಫ್, ಯುನೆಸ್ಕೋ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದೀವಿ. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ IMF, IBRD ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲೈಸ್ಡ್ ಏಜೆನ್ಸೀಸ್ ಕೂಡ ನಮಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಒತ್ತನ್ನು ನೀಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಣಾಮಕಾರಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋದೊಂದು ಬಹಳ ಬೇಸರ ತರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಷಯ ಅಂತ ನಾನಾದ್ರೂ ಭಾವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. See, first of all, we should know where exactly we have come from. Then only you appreciate yourself, where are you going? It is highly philosophical. Still, there is a relevance from the standpoint. Look at the cultural change in the society. We talk many things on the culture, the civilization as well. Civilization, what is civilization? What we do is our civilization. What we for is our culture. We should balance the interest between culture and the civilization as well. If at all you want to become a civilized, a cultured in a given society, food is essential. Without food, how can you live? It's a fundamental question to be asked to anybody in the well-known, developing country as well. So therefore, why food security is important for a nation? For boosting agriculture sector, for having a control on food prices, for economic growth, job creation leading to poverty reduction, for trade opportunities, for increased global security and stability, and for improved health and health care as well. Look at, especially in COVID-19, it was highly vulnerable to all, irrespective of the fact that, including me, we struggled a lot to have. So therefore, you have to understand all these queries, even from the perspective of bioterrorism. Why bioterrorism? What are the reasons for bioterrorism? That you have to understand. So without understanding the developments that are taken place through science and technology, whatever you are sharing some views on the food security would be incomplete. So therefore, you have to address these issues even from the perspective of bioterrorism as such. Of course, the terrorism has got many shapes. It might be counter-terrorism, state terrorism, cyber terrorism, above all, bioterrorism. Bioterrorism is ongoing, though we have had some specific covenants, protocols, or agreements between states, but nobody is actually taking care about the bioterrorism as such. It is because of bioterrorism, in some places, food was not actually supplied accordingly. So therefore, we have to understand the food security issues even from the perspective of the bioterrorism. This was actually well witnessed during COVID-19, Ebola, and such other spreading of diseases all over the world as well, who are actually spreading these diseases. And you have to build the cat and find out where exactly these issues have come through. You have to overcome. This is the right time to understand on the basis of constitutional checks and balances. These are the things which shall also be looked into. We need to have a very good legal chemistry. A scientific approach shall also be looked into. Ultimate truth shall also be looked into. And in a silver linings, we need to have some good research on the food security or elimination of the poverty as such, based on specific checks and balances. And very well, Our constitution is supreme. It used to be called as if a lex specialis. So, or suprema lex. Constitution that itself is a lex specialis and suprema lex. You have to uphold the constitutional goals. Look at Article 21 of the Constitution, wherein it has outspoken. Perhaps you may have gone through Article 21 in a better way. That itself is a primordial right, without which other rights cannot be enjoyable. This is what we have known on the basis of the Article 21 of the Constitution of India as such. These are the things shall also be looked. Along with the continuity of these, the right to health is also well cited, and the umbrella of right to food. So therefore, I must share with you on the basis of a statement given by V.R. Krishna Iyer while he was actually writing some judgments before Honorable Supreme Court of India. He referred that access to justice is one among human rights. Access to justice is one among human rights. What kind of justice you require? It could be political justice, economic justice, and social justice as well. How will you understand social justice? This is what, in a case decided by Honorable High Court of Bombay, the case name is Prakash Cotton Mills versus State of Maharashtra. In this particular case, in fact, Justice Chakla has interpreted by saying that without understanding the concept of social justice, law cannot be interpreted. In a silver linings, Justice Subbarao, and who was actually writing many judgments before Honorable Supreme Court of India, he referred that if at all you want to have a just society, there shall be application of the social justice as such. It is underlined. You have to understand, because we are all human beings, no matter, isn't it? And in a silver linings, understand the standardization or living condition of human being. And we talk many things on human rights, humanity, humanitarian law, all in all we talk. But when it comes to the knowledge of vulnerable groups like women, children, orphans, LGBT, and rest of them, food security is one of the major issues. And elimination of the poverty is also one of the major issues. Look at 17 goals in which they have expressed at the international level. Sustainable Developmental Goals 2015 to 30. We have had very good action plan. How will you implement the sustainable goals country like India? Since you are finding lack of economic stability and the political willpower, it's very difficult to transform or incorporate such kind of goals into the municipal law or a national law as such. How will you retain them at the local level? You may be finding a lot of crises over there. So therefore, something has to be looked upon on the basis of the concept of state responsibility as such. Then you can put a fundamental question to me: what is state responsibility? State responsibility, it means if a state violates an international obligation, then the state responsibility would come into picture. This is what Draft Articles on State Responsibility for Wrongful Acts 2001 has already been outspoken. This was actually drafted by 5 special rapporteurs of International Law Commission There might be William Repagan, Armedo, and rest of them who have actually drafted very good documentation. However, you have had some queries in connection to these drafts, which are highly expressive. And you say they are all actually soft laws, not hard laws. Then you can put a fundamental question: what is the dichotomy between soft law and a hard law? It is highly academic. If rather I would say, why are you understanding these draft articles on state responsibility based on soft measures, which are highly distinguished with hard measures? That you have to understand. Being a lawyer, I can say, in absence of a hard law, then the soft law will play an important role. Why people are knocking the doors of judiciary? They need justice. They have not come here. Which law is supreme? Whether hard law is supreme, soft law is supreme. And you are retaining soft law with a view to have some justification in otherwise manner, or to understand your own sweeping statements or safe corner statements you are retaining with soft measures. So therefore, you have to understand, you are a better judge what is right and what is wrong on the basis of the food security measures are concerned. On the other hand, when you just look into concerns vis-a-vis food security in India, we need to have lots of debates. Look at some data. Just have a look on with you to share few views. Just sharing with you some data. Kindly have a look on. They might be helpful to you for further research. It could be deductive research or inductive research or waterfall research or hill climbing research, quantitative, qualitative research, whatever you do, based on or depending on some issues, you can understand them. See, India currently has largest number of undernourished people in the world, that is around 195 million. Nearly 47 million or 4 out of 10 children in India do not meet their full human potential because of chronic undernourished and stunting. So this is what even UNICEF has already been given you a fact-finding report. Every day, 5,000 kids they die because of malnutrition. And who's this responsibility as well? And you can put a fundamental question. The moment when I started sharing few thoughts, I referred in by saying that if somebody is actually crying at home, that the mother should know why he is crying. This is very, very important. So therefore, something has to be looked upon, or else some action plans or schemes shall also be looked upon to overcome all these, especially in developing countries like India as such. Of course, so this is my hypothetical answer I'm just giving you. If you are closer to temperature, the high fertility will come. When you have got high fertility, population will be increased. When you have got population, problems are quite common all over the world. Poverty is one of the major issues. Food security is one of the major issues. So therefore, everything is actually depending on the law of nature. I believe in Chinese philosophy, wherein Lao Tse and Confucius observations are wonderful. What they say that you should grow naturally, how plants and trees are growing. They don't require any help from anybody. They develop according to the nature. This is one thing, one should understand it. As long as you are understanding the elimination of the poverty as well. Look at the agricultural productivity in India, extremely low. According to World Bank figures, cereal yield in India is estimated to be 2,992 per kg per hectare as against to 7,18.4 kg per hectare in North America as such. We are just comparing based on data. Of course, at the end, we can have some queries and action plan. I have come across with some action plan to overcome elevation of the poverty and the food security issues are concerned. What are the challenges to the food security? And you know very well, generally speaking, perhaps you may have gone through all these while you were teaching to your students. No matter. However, it requires to have some thought-provoking issues on these areas of interest, like challenges to food security as such. Climate is one, lack of access to remote areas, increase in rural to urban migration. Human migration is quite common. That is inherent in our society. People have been actually migrating from one place to another place as such. Earlier, what had happened? We did not find any visa passport to visit some places. People were actually migrating from one place to another place, and the entire world was actually belonging to a family. That's why it is to be called as if Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. What is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? How will you understand Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? That the word is actually belonging to single family as such. These are the things which shall also be looked upon when it comes to the knowledge of these challenges are concerned. Increase in rural to urban area. People have been actually inclined to visit some places where they are actually going to be benefited. This is one thing. On the other hand, if rather I would say human migration is inherent in the society. You cannot change it. Sit for a while in Bangalore International Airport. How many foreigners are entering India? How many, Indians are actually migrating to other parts of the world as such? Unimaginable proportions of migration is actually being held, especially country like India as such. So therefore, this is one of the major issues. I agree with you, along with climate change and lack of access to remote areas and all in all. Look at overpopulation, poverty, lack of education, gender inequality, then inadequate distribution of food, biofuel, conflict, unmonitored nutrition programs, lack of coherent food and nutritious policies, above all corruption. And we have no moral right to talk on corruption as well. You know very well. These are the major issues we have had country like India. Though we have had as many as policies, good policies we have. I will show you some policies established by the central and state government as well, based on the constitutional checks and balances are concerned. This is one of the major observations I have. On the other hand, when you are understanding right to development, that to Declaration Right to Development 1986. What is right to development? This is what Nobel laureate Amartya Sen has acknowledged. Right to development in the sense that economic empowerment, economic development. This is what Amartya Sen has acknowledged. Then how will you understand it? Economic empowerment, social empowerment, political empowerment, and many. It requires to have some millennial goals and sustainable development goals 2015 to 30 as such. When it comes to the knowledge of climate change, in fact, in 1992, based on Rio de Janeiro Declaration and the developments that are taken place, especially in 1990, Convention on Biological Diversity came in. Convention on Biological Diversity and UNFCCC, United Nations Framework on Climate Change 1992. These are the two major steps were actually emphasized with you to understand the problems of human being all over the world. Look at Convention on the Protection of Biological Diversity and United Nations Framework on the Climate Change. They have come through with you to understand the well-being of people or standardization at the regional and international level as well. So therefore, you have to understand all this and you have to transform such kind of law into the municipal law. This is very, very important. Otherwise, how can you understand public international law or international coherence as well? Now, ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಿ UDHR ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್, ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್, ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. How will you retain them? ನೋಡಿ, 1993 ಗಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ದು ರೀಸನಬಲ್ ಅನಾಲಜಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಆಲ್ ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್, ಆಲ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್. That's our sweeping statement. I agree with you. As far as part 3rd of the Constitution of India is concerned, isn't it? So, how, in what manner, the international coherence can be retained at the municipal level or national level? It's a question of fact and the law as well. If rather I would say, being a student of law, I can say that there is a common misconception prevailed in the Indian judicial system to the effect that international covenants are not supposed to be enforceable unless and until there shall be a specific legislation or an enactment. Without specific enactment or a legislation, it would be virtually impossible to retain such kind of international law into the municipal law as such. However, thanks to Supreme Court of India, in many cases, they have retained it with you to fulfill certain obligations at the local level as such. Here, it might be philosophical one. You should understand a classical dichotomy between Kriya and Karma. Kriya for yourself, Karma for others. Karma in the sense that one owes duty towards others. If the people are actually starved, if the people are, in the starvation level, what's your duty? What's your obligation towards these vulnerable groups? They could be women, children, orphans, and elderly, or ill health. You have to help them. This is one of the responsibilities on the part of a state to render justice to a common man. It could be distributive justice or corrective of justice. Perhaps being a political scientist, you may have gone through Western political thought very well, depending on, Aristotle's philosophy, Socrates' philosophy, Plato's philosophy, Cicero, Polybus philosophy, and rest of them. They have outspoken, no matter, based on distributive justice and corrective of justice, in which John Rawls, in fact, in his theory of justice, has referred in. This is what we have to understand. All these aspects based on our Western political thought as such. The Western political thought has given you very good inputs to understand these issues. It could be elevation of poverty or food security, whatever you might be finding in this holistic and integrated society as such. This is one thing I must share with you. When it comes to the knowledge of Eurocentric approach, US-centric approach, and Asia-Afrocentric approaches, especially in Asia and African-centric approaches, problems are widespread because you are closer to high temperature. When you are close to high temperature, as I said, hypothetically, high fertility will be there. When you got high fertility, population will be increased. When you got population, problems are quite common. You have to supply food to the people as well. So therefore, overpopulation is one of the major issues all over the world. I agree with you. No matter. When it comes to the knowledge of census, country like India, look at in 2001 and 2011 census. After that, nothing has been done so far, country like India. We need to have one more census with you to identify who are all and actually living below the poverty line. This is very, very important from the point of view of understanding the food security measures are concerned. On the other hand, we talk many things on lack of education. What is education? You know very well better than me. This is what Swami Vivekananda has already been defined. What is education as such? That you should understand it. Everybody knows, but you should understand how people are living over there. One owes a duty towards others. That's a dharma you have. This is actually well known on the basis of a doctrine of equity as such. Equity shall also be looked into. That the spirit of the law shall also be looked into. And this is what your Karl Marx has acknowledged by saying that man is a species being. He requires a lot of help from others. Others in the sense that the state and the civil society as such. The entire civil society is responsible to pay for it. So in this context, we have to understand how, in what manner, the problems could be resolved on time. There are some steps taken by the government as such. Look at National Nutrition Mission 2018, the National Food Security Mission 2007, the Zero Hunger Program in India began in 2017 as such. The major concern is to overcome the poverty country like India as such. Most of them are actually highly marginalized. Apart from this, we have some action plans like wage employment programs, self-employment programs, food security programs, social security programs, urban poverty elevation programs, Skill India programs for employment. So these are the major programs in which we have set up at the higher level as such. These programs should be implemented thoroughly. And there is a lack of political will in this regard. On the other hand, if rather I would say, based on human rights, what are human rights? You know very well. Human rights are nothing but basic rights, natural, inalienable, instrumental, fundamental sometimes, without which other rights cannot be enjoyable. I agree with you. I fully agree with you. When you just look into the Human Rights Protection Act 1993, this act was actually passed. It was because of obligations at the international level as such. We have already been signed International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966, then International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights 1966. We took almost 2 decades, I mean to say 20 years, to have such a kind of legislation, country like India as such. Or do you mean to say that there was no violation of human rights country like India? This is what Justice Anand, former judge of the Supreme Court of India, referred by saying that poverty that itself is a violation of human rights. Then how will you overcome poverty, and what kind of action plans you have? So this is very, very important from the point of view of understanding elimination of the poverty based on these action plans or programs are concerned. Apart from this, we have a Jawahar Gram Samriddhi Yojana, what we call it as JGSY. You have National Old Age Pension Scheme. You have Sampurna Gramina Rozgar Yojana. You have National Family Benefit Schemes. You have how many schemes you have? Look at the action plan of central government and the state governments as well. There are so many schemes have come through. Only thing is that these schemes should be implemented accordingly. And this is one of the responsibilities on the part of the entire civil society to look into the matter. And moreover, if rather I would say, an insight into the subject matter of these schemes are not so simple. It requires a lot of drill. You require more and more resources with a view to understand all schemes. Without understanding resources, whatever you have had, some schemes would be incomplete and frustrated, and people will stand before you and raise some objections. So therefore, as long as you are raising some schemes for effective implementation, so long you have to understand that. This is very important from the point of view of this, and especially the National Old Age Pension Scheme came in on the basis of 2007 covenant as such. You know very well how exactly United Nations Organization and its specialized agencies have been working together with a view to overcome, the problems of a human being all over the world as such. You just look into UN Charter 1945 and the developments that are taken place through General Assembly and the Security Council as well. General Assembly and the Security Council, they might be having some confusions. I agree with you. There are some criticisms. I agree with you. However, look at their objectives and subjective approaches. That's very important. When you just look into Article 10 of the UN Charter 1945 and Article 55 and 56 and rest of them, of course, no doubt, they have outspoken on standardization and well-being of people all over the world as such. So that's why UNESCO was initiated. Economic and Social Council was initiated. And rest of them have already been, in fact, outspoken on these issues are concerned. Especially in India, we have a very good legislation. There's a Food Security Act 2013. However, you might be having some classical crisis or issues in connection to the provisions of law. First of all, you have to understand the objectives of the act. Look at the objectives of the act. Objectives of the act is to understand food security. People shall not be died because of malnutritious issues are concerned. So therefore, something has to be understood here as long as you are dealing with the Food Security Act of 2013 as such. Look at food grains are distributed at the subsidized rates. Have you ever been spoken? These objectives are remained without having some sound steps, country like India. This is one of the major observations I have. On the other hand, targeted public distribution system shall also be made clear. Food security allowances are there. Transparency provisions are made available to avoid loopholes. So these are the major objectives of the Food Security Act of 2013 as such. This act has been actually passed by the parliamentarian. You should understand it. Look at when you are understanding Food Security Act of 2013, one shall not be forgotten on Civil Rights Act 1955, Atrocities Act 1989, then Biodiversity Act of 2002, then Forest Dwellers Act of 2006. All these specific legislations shall also be looked on the basis of a Food Security Act of 2013 as such. I mean to say that all these legislations have been actually passed by the parliamentarian. They have not been actually passed by alien or somebody else. One should understand it. First of all, you have to understand the silent features of these enactments. Look at Forest Dwellers Act 2006, in which it has given you some inputs to understand the people who are living in hill station areas or thick forest or in the border area of the civil society as such. They could be Jenu Kurba, Kadu Kurba, Bettada Kurba, Soligas, Yarava, Siddhi, especially in North Karnataka, you may be finding Hindu Siddhi, then Muslim Siddhi, Christian Siddhi, all in all you have. Where exactly these people have come through? They are from our own place. We should help them. And no rehabilitation has been made so far. Till now, I must share with you. Please visit some places. Take some projects, minor or major projects. Please visit these places. You will be known how exactly the Food Security Act 2013 is actually helpful to them. And how exactly people have been actually facing a lot of issues, especially in these areas are concerned. Where exactly they should go? These are the things which shall also be looked into. And understand some reports submitted by various experts. Various experts. Look at Madhava Gadgil report, Kasturi Rangan report, Oman Chandi's report. You just verify them. Understand the contents of these reports, whether these reports are really helpful to the mankind as a whole, and how exactly these reports would be helpful to the people who are living at the lowest strata in the society as such. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ತಳ ಸಮುದಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜನರುಗಳನ್ನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ಸಮಾಜದ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಹಿನಿಗೆ ತರಬೇಕು ಅನ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಕಾನೂನುಗಳು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಇದೆ, ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ, ಜುಡಿಷಿಯರಿ ಇದೆ. ಇನ್ನ ಯಾವ ಕಾನೂನು ಬೇಕು ಈ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ? ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೆಡಿಬಲ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಹೊಂಬಾಳ್ ಸರ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಫುಡ್ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೆಡಿಬಲ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. Look at the situations at the international level. Drastic change has occurred. ನೀವು LPG ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಬಂದ್ಮೇಲಂತೂ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ದ್ವಂದ್ವಗಳಿದಾವೆ, ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳಿದಾವೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಬಗೆಹರಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ವರ್ಷಗಳೇ ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ನಾವು ಆಜಾದಿ ಕಾ ಅಮೃತ್ ಮಹೋತ್ಸವ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಮೊನ್ನೆನೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಜನಜಾತಿಯ ಗೌರವ ದಿವಸ್ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ನಮಗೆ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಆಚರಣೆ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. ಜನಜಾತಿಯ ಗೌರವ ದಿವಸ ಅಂತ ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಸ್ಲೋಗನ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದೀವಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೆ ವೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ನಾಲೆಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಪೀಪಲ್, ನೀವು BR ಹಿಲ್ಸ್ಗೆ ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಫುಡ್ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಗೋ ಏನೋ ಇದು ವೇಜ್ ಅರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಅವ್ರೇನೋ ಲೈಫ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಹಕ್ಕು ಪತ್ರಗಳನ್ನೇ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ, ಇರಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದ್ ಕಾಡಲ್ಲಿ ಬದುಕ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನಮಗೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಒಂದು ಜೀವನ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇದೆ. ಈಗ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದಾಗೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಸಂಶೋಧನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುವಾಗ, ಈಗ ಕ್ರಿಶ್ಚಿಯನ್ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಮುಸ್ಲಿಂ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಹಿಂದೂ ಸಿದ್ಧಿಗಳು, ಅವ್ರು ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರೋರು ಪಾಪ? ಅವರು ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಶಿಪ್ಪಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದವರು ವಾಸವಾಗಿರೋರು. ಅವರ ಭಾಷೆನೇ ಬೇರೆ ಇದೆ, ನಡೆ ನುಡಿ ಆಚಾರ ವಿಚಾರಗಳೇ ಬೇರೆ, ಆ ಫುಡ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲೇ ಬೇರೆ ಇದೆ. ನೀವು ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಫುಡ್ ಯಾವುದು? ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಫುಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅವತ್ತು ಹಿಂದೆ ತಿಂತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ನೀವು ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಫುಡ್ ಯಾವ್ದದು? ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹೈಲಿ ಅಡಲ್ಟ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಫುಡ್, ಪಾಯ್ಸನಸ್ ಅಡಲ್ಟ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಫುಡ್ ಇದು. ನೀವು ಬಂದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಈಗ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ವಿ ಹಿಂದೆ, ಯಾವ್ದು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮಾತಾಡುವಾಗ, ಫುಡ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಇಸ್ ವೆಲ್ ನೋನ್ ಇನ್ ದೀಸ್ ಡೇಸ್. ಏರ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಬಿಡಿ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡಿ. ಈಗೆಲ್ಲ ಫುಡ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ನಾವು ಒತ್ತು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್, ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಪ್, ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ಸ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಕಂಪನಿಗಳು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಬೀದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಇದು ಫುಡ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಗಳು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದಾವೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಯಾವ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಬಹುಶಃ ಮುಂದಿನ ಕಾಲಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಾನು ನೋಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟವನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇದೊಂದು. ಇದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳೋದಷ್ಟೇ, ಎಲ್ಲಾರು ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಮೈನರ್ ಅಥವಾ ಮೇಜರ್ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳುವಾಗ ಈ ಬಯೋ ಟೆರರಿಸಂ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅವಲೋಕನ ಮಾಡಿ, ತುಂಬಾ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಒಂದು ಸೊಸೈಟಿಗೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನಾದ್ರೂ ಭಾವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಈ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ದೋ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ silent features of Food Security Act 2013 as well. This is one thing. On the other hand, no documentation has been made country like India. Nam food anna ನಾವು ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಾಸ್ಮತಿ ರೈಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ನೀಮ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಟರ್ಮರಿಕ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ನೀವು ಜಿಯೋಗ್ರಫಿಕಲ್ ಇಂಡಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೋಡಿ, ಲೈಕ್ ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಜಿಯೋಗ್ರಫಿಕಲ್ ಇಂಡಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಧಾರವಾಡದಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರೋರಿಗೆ ಧಾರವಾಡ ಪೇಡೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಈ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಮದ್ದೂರು ವಡ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಜಿಯೋಗ್ರಫಿಕಲ್ ಇಂಡಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಹಕ್ಕುಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವೇನು ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲರದು ಬೇರೆಯವರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಟ್ವಿ. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಂಪನಿಗಳಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಟ್ವಿ. ಆ ಕಂಪನಿ ನಾವು ಫುಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ತಿನ್ಬೇಕು. ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಡೊನಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, KFC ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಹಾಗೆ ಡಾಲ್ಫಿನ್, ಯಾವುದೇ ಪೇಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೆಂಗಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ರೀತಿ ಫುಡ್ ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಡಲ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್, highly adulterated food we eat every day and night. So these are the major issues we have when you are actually sharing few thoughts on food security law or the elevation of the poverty as well, country like India as such. Look at what is the significance of this act. It has come out with very good significant approaches that you have to understand and verify it. To boost the agricultural sector, it has come through. It aids the government to regulate the prices, and it enhances reduction in poverty. It access to nutritious food, also important for global security and national stability as well. Especially in these days, it is because of upcoming companies. They could be food industrial companies are concerned. We are actually adapted to the food in which they are actually producing every day and night by using chemicals and all. So therefore, this act is actually well known with you to understand all these queries and issues as well. It is actually boosting agricultural sector. The transformational changes should also be occurred in the agricultural sector. Certain subsidies should also be actually given to the agricultural sector as well. Look at BT brinjal and traditional brinjal. Traditional brinjal will give you more tasty. BT cotton and traditional cotton. See, therefore, what I would like to share with you to overcome poverty or some issues in connection to food security. Obviously, you have to encourage the agricultural sector, country like India as such. Without encouraging agricultural sector, country like India, whatever you are uprising would be incomplete. So therefore, this act is highly significant and inevitable for us to understand the poverty country like India as such. And as I said, we have to give voice to the voiceless, eyes to the eyesless, remedies to the remediless. This is our concern. Of course, India is known for its international relations. We have known for international relations. There is no doubt as such. After having gone through WTO and ancestral models and rest of them, India is actually growing at the international level. I believe, however, we should know the poverty as well. Look at the Katagana Declaration 2000 and Nagoya Protocol 2010. They have been actually outspoken on sustainable utilization of the natural resources. I must share with you, being a student of law, in fact, we have understood in such a manner by saying that in olden days, we had a huge natural resources and less population. Now you have more population and less natural resources. That's why you are quarreling each other. And Earth planet is going to become a smaller and smaller. Earth planet is going to become smaller and smaller. So therefore, we have to understand, even from the perspective of these aspects as well. See, there are some food security programs, country like India. Public distribution system you have, midday meals schemes you have, integrated child development service scheme you have, mega food parks you have, Sampada Yojana you have. All these programs have come through with a view to meet the needs of the people as well. is one thing. Of course, as long as you are dealing with the food security issues, so long as challenges shall not be forgotten. Of course, we had to implement measures to improve agricultural productivity and food storage. We have to ensure food's availability and accessibility to below poverty line, that's called as BPL candidates, and we have to improve to purchase power through employment generation schemes, crop diversification, establishing food grain banks, and promoting household gardens. And the community awareness through certain schemes, monitoring, timely elevation of nutritious programs, community participation, intersectoral coordination, ethical consideration, all in all are there while you are just dealing with these. Of course, no doubt, as far as 73rd and 74th Amendment of the Constitution of India, we have given certain powers to the Gram Sabha, I mean to say the local self-government. It is one of the responsibilities on the part of local self-government to hear the problems of the people who are living at the lowest strata as such. So therefore, everything we have, I agree with you, when it comes to the knowledge of 73rd and 74th Amendment of the Constitution of India, wherein it has given more inputs to the local self-governance or local self-government as well. Of course, the role of Gram Sabha is in fact very much required as of now. It is one of the responsibilities on the part of the Gram Sabha to look after every one of them in the local level as such. So in this context, however, we might be having some challenges in achieving food security, there is a room for discussing all these issues. We have to understand them in an appropriate manner as such. Apart from, say, local developments, we have had some international organizations for food security. These organizations are actually, understanding the food security based on, the developments that are taken place through United Nations organization. Thanks to United Nations organization, with you to understand all these classical issues all over the world as such. Look at Food and Agriculture Organization, then World Food Program, then International Fund for Agriculture Development, World Bank, United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. All these are actually playing an important role with you to understand food security measures all over the world as such. Especially 1972, if rather I would say, based on Stockholm Conference in 1972 and Rio de Janeiro declares 1992, Earth Summit and rest of them, they have outspoken on rural poverty reduction, working with the poor rural population in developing countries to eliminate poverty, hunger, then malnutrition as well. So you have to understand, of course, no doubt, when you are understanding right to wholesome environment, right to wholesome environment has had its own action plans depending on some theories. There could be polluter pays principle, sustainable development, common but differentiated responsibility, precautionary measures, then optimal use of the natural resources. Yes, you have to understand on the basis of the developments that are taken place through international organizations as well. So in this context, we have to undergo a transformational changes. Without a transformational changes, whatever you are expressing here would be incomplete. Therefore, All these steps should also be been looked into on the basis of the developments that are taken place through UN agencies are concerned. UN agencies have been working day and night to do. Of course, revolution for food security, enhancing food production, as you have already been known, depending on green revolution. Green revolution is known for agriculture production. Pink revolution, meat and poultry production. Red revolution, meat and tomato production. Round revolution, potato revolution. Silver revolution, egg poultry production. White revolution, milk and dairy production. Yellow revolution, oil seed production. Blue revolution, fish production. What we call it as blue economy as such. Based on blue economy, you can understand blue revolution, which is known as actually fish production as such. Brown revolution, leather, cocoa production, then golden revolution, none other than horticulture and the honey production as such. These are the steps have been actually taken at the national, regional, and international level with a view to understand the food security and enhancing the production as well. Lots of revolutions have come through, changes have come through with a view to understand the poverty as well. You have to understand poverty. This is one of the major responsibilities of any state. It could be developed country, developing country, least developed country, non-self-governing territory, or trust territory, whatever you may be defining based on the certain the yardsticks are concerned. Yardsticks are concerned. So this is what one should understand. Solutions. What are the solutions you have? You have to enhance food storage capacity, increase irrigation, fertilizer, and very well. And just to share with you, I'm just emphasizing. Then community participation, crop diversification, enhance renewable energy generation speedily. So these are the action plans shall also be looked into with you to understand food security measures are concerned. So without understanding all in all, whatever you are just sharing would be actually incomplete as such. Especially in developing countries, it is highly vulnerable. I agree with you. The group 77 countries or third world countries are always facing a lot of crisis, especially food security crisis are concerned. So something has to be looked upon, and this is the right time to understand each one of through certain schemes are concerned. However, you may have gone through some classical, clarification between soft law or hard law. See, the distinction between soft law and hard law, it is in fact an academic work, if rather I would say. So therefore, we have to understand what is soft law here. Soft law is not actually legally binding. It is an expression of preference. Non-compliance is actually considered as violation of these measures. However, failure to observe can lead to certain consequences. Although soft law is not strictly law, it has many positive assets, and soft law can shape opinion, practice, and thereby assist in the formation of a general law as such. So therefore, something has to be looked upon to understand what is law and what is law ought to be. I must share with you, being a student of law is an instrument of social change. It may change from time to time as a science and technological development as such. So depending on circumstances, changes, the developments that are taken place at the higher level, especially through WTO, World Trade Organization, we need to have some action plan at the local level as such. With these few aspects, I take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for your patient hearing. If you have got some questions in this session, I'll be able to answer you. In the next session,
thank
I'll
you,
be
sir.
dealing with IDP, internal displacement.